All right, all right. Hello, everyone. Alex Guillen here. It's actually about 1:45 p.m. Central Time, 2:45 Eastern Time. I'm excited. I want to give you guys a couple seconds to get people sign on. Super excited. Today I have the man, the myth, the legend, I call him Mr. Jose Get That Money Baeza. So from
I have many nicknames. This is the most appropriate one here, so I appreciate that.
right. Here's a full disclosure. We'll keep this interview PG-13 for this one. So awesome, man. Cool. So without further ado, today's topic is going to be basically about showing business owners, entrepreneurs, how to get capital funding for your business. So whether you're a startup, you're a seasoned business entrepreneur, or have multiple businesses and you're looking to leverage the bank's money basically for your company, this is the man to talk to. So in today's interview, we're going to cover a couple questions that I have for you, Jose, and kind of go from there. So let's get right to it. We're going to give you straight like the meats and potatoes. We're going to cut the fat and go straight into it. So question one.
First of all, Alex, I do appreciate you inviting me here to your studio. So thank you so much. Looking forward to sharing so many good facts about funding and providing value to not just yourself, but also providing value to your group of followers and everyone in your network. So first of all, thank you for inviting me.
I appreciate it. Well, yeah, thanks for being here, man. Cool. So question number one, just share more with our audience a little bit, kind of like how you got started, more about you and how you got involved in capital funding. Like, how did it start for you?
Sure. So I'll actually give you kind of just a brief synopsis of how I got started. I started similar to how many of entrepreneurs start, with an idea. It was a long time ago, probably about, I want to say, since I was 16 years old. I'm 29 now, but when I was 16, one of my teachers, when I was ready to go into college and trying to figure things out, I ended up going through a process of figuring out who I wanted to be, because as a career, at first I wanted to be a chef, but then I realized I love food too much, so I couldn't really do that.
So you ate all the food.
I ate all the food, and I would feel so bad, going there and just making it for other people. But anyways, what happened is that one of my teachers had mentioned about becoming an entrepreneur and how you can make so much money being an entrepreneur. And at that point, it was one of those instances where I made a decision at that point that I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I didn't know what it meant, but I knew I wanted to be one. So at that point, I started learning about business. I started learning about all the different skills that I did not have and what I needed to do in order to become a successful entrepreneur. And that's how I got started. That's how I started my journey. And just to kind of, move it forward into today, I started by, there were so many skills that I didn't have. I was an introvert, so I was very afraid of speaking to individuals, and I was very shy. So I went through a customer service job, I went through a sales job, I went through telemarketing. So I did all the weird, odd jobs that are out there in order to get to where I was. And from that point, I started learning about funding. I started learning about how it's one of those situations that without money, the world doesn't spin around. I mean, you still need funding, you need marketing, of course, and sales, but everything is about money at the end of the day. Nonprofits require money. Businesses that are successful require still more money. So that's how I got started.
Cool, man. Good stuff. Now, in regards to your clients, who do you say, who's like your ideal client, like who do you serve?
Right now, we've been serving the real estate industry primarily. It's not because we just deal with real estate, but based on their program and just some of the benefits and some of the perks that we'll go over a little bit later, it just gears more towards real estate investors. Some of the programs that we have 0% interest rate for the first 6 months to 13 months. So you can imagine that real estate investors are always going to gear to the lowest cost when it comes to business or funding, because they can fix and flip a property in less than 6 months, which means that they wouldn't be paying for much interest throughout the period. But I would say real estate investors, I would say entrepreneurs that are looking to make that transition from having a job to a business, and nonprofits as well. Criteria is that you have to have at least a 650 credit score with a minimum of $40,000 in income in your taxes. And if you don't meet that criteria, as long as you have a 700 plus credit score, you can qualify for funding.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Now, even if you don't qualify for funding per se, you can always leverage somebody else's credit score as well, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So that's a big thing. Yeah. See, people always have this misconception that the funding's limited. Well, money is out there. It's in abundance.
Right.
Right now, there's so many corporations. There's so many people out there that are willing to give out money in return for, like, say, a small piece of it, whether it be the interest rate. So there's a lot of different types of funding. There's SBA loans, there are term loans, credit lines, private lending. So there's never a lack of money. There's just a lack of understanding where to get the money. And for that reason, if you don't qualify for any funding, there's always ways to getting around there. With our program, with our credit lines and our term loans, which we do over $60 million worth of funding, if you don't qualify or if the client doesn't qualify, we can always accept cosigners. And we've had grandmas, grandpas, granddaughters that have co-signed for some of the top entrepreneurs that we know that are making things happen today. And it's all a matter of being strategic,
being proactive,
and just figuring out ways. So yes, we do accept cosigners, and a cosigner doesn't have to have business background. They just need to have a good credit, 700 at least.
Okay, awesome. So you're working with, cool, thank you for sharing that. So you're working with real estate investors, startups, right? And you work with also coaches, speakers, trainers, anybody basically that wants to leverage capital funding for their business, correct?
Oh,
so not just strictly just for real estate
investors. It's
investors.
not just strictly for real estate investors. This is for businesses that are in multiple industries. There's no limit to what you can use the money for. When it comes to the funding side, you're talking about, we've been able to help real estate investors, nonprofits. We've been able to help businesses that are in the internet world. So when it comes to the internet world, I mean, you look at what's going on today, and people are doing network marketing. They're doing all these different types of industries that still require money. So as long as you're in that field, then we can definitely help you out.
So whether you have a brick and mortar business or an online business, obviously you still need money, right?
Absolutely.
To get things flowing. So it's something that I wish I would have had knowledge, because knowledge is power, but knowledge and action is, you take your business to the next level. So I wish I would have known about this like when I got started, because I would have been able to leverage the bank's money instead of putting my own money at risk when I first started. So yeah, that's good stuff, man. Now, would you say maybe the top 2 or 3 challenges that you solve for your customers right now that they're currently facing that you can solve for them like really quick on the spot? Because I know there's a turnaround time when they apply to when they get funded. So can you maybe explain that?
Oh, sure, absolutely. So when it comes to the funding, so many entrepreneurs need the money right away. Unfortunately, with the process of getting an actual business loan, it can take months, sometimes even years before you even see any money from whether it be the government or a bank.
Wow.
See, banks have different criteria that there is a code that the lenders are always looking to in order for them to qualify you on a loan. When it comes to an SBA loan, it takes months. If you need the money right away, it's going to either kill your business or you're going to suffer on the front end, because then you're going to try and figure out how you can get additional funding.
And what's an SBA loan for people who don't know?
Oh, it's a small business loan. Okay. So this is the thing that when people are not really sure on what to do, they end up going through the traditional way. The traditional way can be very expensive and time consuming.
Right.
So what we do is we have a team of experts that know exactly what the lenders are looking for, and they'll go ahead and take those shortcuts in a way to better explain it, where we already know which lenders will accept you. We know what the lenders will be looking for. So before we even push anyone through our lenders, we'll actually look at the criteria just like the lenders would. So we have our own team of underwriters that will qualify the client before we even push them through. That way, when we push them through, we can get them funded within less than a week. 5 to 7 businesses is all it takes.
Nice.
I've been able to raise capital I've been able to raise over $200,000 in less than 3 days.
And last year, so you guys know, I won't steal your thunder per se, but last year, how much were you able to fund companies? Because it was a lot.
So yes, it was a lot. It was in the millions. So we have a team of consultants. So overall, we've done over $60 million in funding. That's just on the lines of credit. That's not even including the term loans. Term loans, I'll give you an example. Term loans, we've been able to do about $350,000 per client.
Wow.
Right now, the average on a term loan is about $150,000. But for those people that qualify, and I'll give you some of the qualifications right now for those of you guys that are interested in the term loans. For the term loans, you need to have at least a $40,000 in net income that you reported over the last 2 years. And as long as you have that, and with a minimum of 650 credit FICO on your personal credit, we can help you. And obviously the DTI, the debt to income ratio has to be below 40% ideally. There are some exceptions, so even if you don't qualify or if you feel like you don't qualify, I highly recommend moving forward and applying at our website, which I'll share with you guys. It's actually efundingexperts.com/getmoney. But as long as you qualify for, or as long as you meet that criteria, which is very simple, tax returns, the credit score over 650, and your debt to income ratio less than 40%, then we can help you. And we can help those people that are looking to, some of the entrepreneurs are still working a job, or maybe they have someone that hasn't been working a job, so they're still consistently reporting the $40,000. That would be for someone that's that's moving into transition.
Yep.
Or if you have a business that's consistently generating income, that would also be a good way, because $40,000 is not much of a big jump. It's not a big qualification gap.
Right.
When it comes to the 40,000. So as long as you meet that criteria, we can get you, up to 350,000.
Now, if somebody has, let's say, good credit, but they don't qualify for the income, they can still leverage somebody else's income, right? So you can
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So let's say that someone doesn't qualify for the term loan because it does require the income and the credit.
Right.
If someone doesn't qualify for that, they can easily qualify for the line of credit. The line of credit is it's just based on your credit score. So, or not your score, but based on your personal credit. They require a 700 plus credit score, no open bankruptcies, less than 30% debt to credit ratio, and no more than 4 credit inquiries within a year. Mm-hmm. Obviously, the terms we can always adjust some of those. So there are exceptions sometimes to the rules, but primarily that's what we're looking for. And we can get you up to 250,000. So you can imagine what an entrepreneur can do with, even if we can get them $100,000.
Right.
Everything's when it comes to the lines of credit, everything's business wise. So it reports only to their business. Now the term loans is a personal loan, but again, the benefits of a personal loan is that they get it in a cash form, so they can use it towards their business. Does that make sense?
Makes total sense. What's like the smallest loan amount to the highest that you are able to get funded for people? Realistically,
our average right now for the term loans is about $150,000. For our credit lines, it's about $78,000 on average. We don't want to see anything below $30,000, below $50,000 to be completely frank with you, because not many people qualify or for that low amount. So, like I said, our average right now is $78,000 to $150,000. But realistically, we've been able to work with a lot of entrepreneurs that are speakers and coaches trainers, authors. So we'll make an exception sometimes, because sometimes they'll go ahead and pitch our program in front of their audience. And whenever they pitch their program to their audience, they're providing the financing to their coaching. Somebody has a mastermind for $15,000 and they just need the money to pay for that mastermind. Right. We'll make an exception. We'll go ahead and fund them for $20,000, $30,000. But realistically, we always push it to as much as possible, because again, entrepreneurs always need funding. Companies will always need the money.
Right. And let me pause you there. That's gold. One thing that you just kind of struck a chord with me, just like a little aha moment, but something that we're doing now too with our clients, for example, people who are marketers, for example, who have digital programs that they're selling, basically high ticket programs over the phone. Let's say people can't afford to buy that 5K or 10K or 3K or 10K, 15K plus program. They're going through us as well to get funded, right? Through your
Absolutely.
Company. They get the funds. Now it's like a win-win scenario. We get them funded. they're now obviously they're able to sell their products online. Now the client's able to also be able to afford it as well. So it's like a win-win on both ends as well. So you're able to leverage that money to be able to get people, from point A to point B in the shortest amount of time as possible.
Absolutely.
How long does it take to get approved? You said about 7.
It takes realistically, we can either have an instant approval or an instant denial. And when it comes to getting the funding, though, it takes an average around 5 to 7 business days. We'll know exactly where they're at. Term loans are always a lot faster, only because it's wire transferred to their account, to the individual's bank account, or it can take a little bit longer if our lenders end up sending a check. If we send out a check, then it can go either FedEx by next day, or it could go through a 5 to 7 business day regular mail. But realistically, it's about 5 to 7 business days.
Now, this is strictly for funding for U.S., right? Only.
This is only for the United States. But here's the thing, though. We have been working with a lot of entrepreneurs. We've been working with a lot of speakers that are in Canada, Australia.
Oh, nice.
Keep in mind that as long as the client lives here in the U.S. and they meet that criteria, we can still help them out. That was one of the things that Alex just mentioned that really does resonate with a lot of speakers and a lot of our affiliates, is that when it comes to the funding, there is no limit to what they can use the money for. Keep in mind that with term loans, the client's getting the money in a cash form. That means they can use the funds however they want. They want to go on a vacation, they can do that. We don't recommend it because primarily we're consultants. We're here to consult the client to make sure they make the right decisions, to make sure that money is being used properly. Now again, as a consultant, then we cannot make the client do anything, but we can guide them in the right direction. So primarily that's what we do. We're here to make sure that the client is successful. Once they receive the funds, we'll do a follow-up call, and then we'll do some follow-up consultation calls as well to make sure that we can either get them set up with marketing services. We can get them set up with making sure that we get their credit back up to where it used to be, because it is going to hit your credit score through inquiries. It's not going to be a big deal, but there are ways to removing those inquiries, which is another reason why we have a lot of good partnerships, such as yourself. Somebody needs marketing, somebody needs a funnel, we push them through you.
Right.
Especially since you have great credibility, and we personally been sending a lot of deals to you. The same thing goes with anyone. Right now, I'll give you an example. Yeah. Just recently, a couple weeks ago, I was able to raise $225,000 for one of my clients.
Nice.
Well, this client ended up purchasing a pharmacy for about $150,000. Guess what that client needs? That client's going to need marketing services.
Right.
That client's going to need additional consulting services, and they're going to need a way to move towards that consulting side. Does that make sense?
It makes total sense. Cool. So perfect. Now you were mentioning to better educate our audience, because some of them might not know in regards to like the credit bureaus. Who are they? What information are they collecting, and why should I care, and how does that affect me? So can you kind of mention a little bit about kind of like the bureaus, who they are, and what they're looking for essentially?
So when it comes to the bureaus, we're looking at Experian, Equifax, TransUnion, and here's another part. When you're trying to qualify for a program, we want to make sure that we pre-qualify you way before we go through the process of submitting you. Because as I mentioned, we want to do as much work as possible up front, but also without the client having to do all the paperwork. Because I'm sure you can relate, having to go all the paperwork only for you to get denied at the end. It's a horrible feeling.
Right.
And that happens with a lot of business owners. About 90% of the applications, when it comes to lenders, they get declined.
And some are going there spending time, obviously time is money, and they're paying upfront fees. Now and here's the fun part, I guess what sets you apart is that you don't charge any like upfront fees. How does that
That is correct. So we don't charge any upfront fees. Our fees are paid only after the client gets funded. So once the client gets funded, then we'll go ahead and submit the file as complete. We'll make sure with the client that we'll follow up with our clients and making sure that they have the money, that they have everything that they need. And once we get the approval and the confirmation, at that point we'll go ahead and submit an invoice. And that invoice is due typically within 5 days, because you can imagine they have the money. It's not like they don't have it. So within 5 days, we've never had an issue. It works perfectly because it keeps us in alignment to what their goals are.
Right.
We're not just somebody that's here to make money off of the client. We're here to provide value. And the only way to provide value is by having some skin in the game.
Of course.
Because if I give somebody an approval and I don't get them the money that they're looking for, not only does it hurt them, but it also hurts me because we're doing all this work for nothing.
Of course. So you're looking to create win-win scenarios.
It's a win-win situation, and that's why we're very careful about who we take as a client. I'm always as open as possible and as transparent as possible when it comes to the client, because yes, would we want to say, oh, we can get you $250,000? Yes, of course. But do I do that all the time? No, because we want to be as honest as possible to being as close to what we know that we can get the client. That way, if we can say, hey, we can give you $30,000 realistically, they're not thinking, I'm going to buy a $100,000 property.
Right.
It screws up everybody. And that's one of the biggest things that we're known for. We're known for our transparency. We're known for the quality of work that we provide. And that's why we have a lot of clients that love us, and we're continuing to do a lot of great things.
Yeah, well, that's why we have so much success, man, and been in the industry for so many years. And we have a team here, and I was in Madison and then also in Elgin as well. So we have, collaborating partners, which is great. That gives us leverage. So we're, this is not a one-man show. We have a whole team behind us who are basically there to help you. Something cool that Jose does that kind of, I've noticed, sets him apart from a lot of different companies that, are the capital funding arena, is that, like he said earlier, they go the extra mile. So it's not just about just, okay, here's the money, buy. No, like they'll consult you. They'll look after your best interest at heart. If you're an entrepreneur, maybe you're kind of on the fence thinking, man, I wonder if this is the right move for me. What numbers am I looking at? What's the interest rate? What are the terms and everything? Jose literally and Jose with his team, they break it down. So they break down every number. So basically, I'm saying in a nutshell, nothing comes as a surprise. Like everything he does is not by accident, it's by design. Meaning that there's a system, there's a process. So once you get approved, even before you get approved, they're already kind of sitting down with you and build the whole game plan, the strategy, so that way you know exactly how to do it, how to move, comfortably and really build a lot of success for your company. So that's something too that you offer as well, consulting, right, for business as well.
Absolutely, that's the primary service that we offer in a way, because we as entrepreneurs, we know that coaching and mentoring is important. That's why we're a big I'm a big believer in reading, only because it expands your mind. And once the mind has expanded, it can't go back to its original form. So, there's so many things that I wish I knew back in the day to prevent me from making certain mistakes. Yep. But that's the reason why it's always important to have mentors. And at the same time, the consulting side works the same way. We're here to provide services that not only raising money for companies, but we know great people that are good at what they do, that are amazing at what they do. And for that reason, we have amazing partnerships with companies that provide websites, SEO services. We have great companies that do credit repair, which can be very tricky. If you don't have the right person that does that, it can tarnish your reputation. For that reason, we're very careful on who we partner up with. And having said that, it's always important that's why we take it personal whenever somebody approaches us and they want to be our partners. Not only do we want to vent them, but also we want them to vent us, because we are representing their brand.
Right.
We do a lot of partnerships. When we partner up with people, we're looking at their integrity. We're looking at how much work they have actually done, and do they do what they say they do, Right. So having said that, that's one of the biggest things that we value. So if you're looking for ways to raise capital for your companies, you can definitely rest assured that we can help you out, and we can brand you, and we can do a white label program. So that's one of the biggest things that we're big in.
Nice. Now, do you also work with not-for-profits as well?
Absolutely. We do non-for-profits. We have our own nonprofit ourselves. So we have Already Always Amazing, which helps veterans, children's, all the children. And then also we help senior citizens. So throughout the year, we throw events and charity galas and auctions. So because we believe in giving, we actually fund also nonprofits. And just to give you an idea, a nonprofit is very difficult to fund sometimes because, again, it has the name not profit. There's no profit in it. Most of the time, lenders don't like nonprofits because they're not going to get their money back. So it's very challenging sometimes to go through the traditional way of funding a nonprofit. But with our program, as long as the individual that owns it, the nonprofit, we can get them funding through their credit, or we can get them funded through their income. Sometimes most of the times the people behind a non-for-profit, they have some money coming in from somewhere.
Obviously.
Right? Yeah, and because of that, we can get them the money through that arena, and then obviously they can grow their nonprofit because we believe in giving back.
Yeah.
We believe that people are, there's so many negative things nowadays in the world that we need some people to give back. How do you help the homeless out in Chicago and all these kids that are left without any toys during Christmas, and all these sad things that happen. So if you do have a non-for-profit, I would highly recommend at least talking to myself or one of my consultants, and we can see what we can do for you.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Cool. Well, you pretty much covered it, man. Now, if you're watching this and still maybe possibly still on the fence, maybe thinking, well, like you said, maybe I don't qualify for credit or whatnot. My credit is pretty much like down there, right? How can I do it? We also help people with that as well. So we'll help you. I always suggest this: go to the pros, come to us. We can help you connect with the right people that will help you boost up your credit score. That way, later on, you can actually, qualify for these loans as well. And then, like you said, we'll give you different options so you can leverage it out. But more importantly, is that inaction as well does, it is going to hurt in the long run. So if you're still stuck in the fence, maybe wondering, man, I know my credit right now is down the drain, maybe I don't qualify financially either, I still highly suggest that you apply, because we can still connect you with the right sources to get you from point A to point B in the shortest amount of time as possible. Like you said, you got to be very careful also who you work with when it comes to credit repair. And I can tell you from stories that I heard left and right, oh, my neighbor helped me, oh, I Googled it, I can do it myself. Yeah, I mean, there are things you can Google and things you can YouTube, obviously, but you got to be very careful. I'd rather, there's a difference between getting advice and getting counsel, right?
Absolutely. And just to kind of recap a little bit of some of the qualifications for those of you guys that are actually, sending us messages that you want us to repeat. So again, 2 programs, a term loan program and then a line of credit. The term loan is a personal loan program that we need at least $40,000 in net income for the last 2 years. And you need to have less than 40% DTI, which is debt to income ratio. And your tax returns, your credit report has to be at least a 650. You don't have to know how to figure that out. We'll do it for you. So if you send us over a copy of your credit report along with your 2 years tax returns, we can look into whether or not you qualify. And even if you don't qualify, we'll give you the options on what you can do and what are some of your options in order to qualify, including a potential cosigner if we need to.
Right. So you can leverage that both ways.
Absolutely. So as long as I have the credit report and the tax returns, we should be good. And one thing I do want to say is that when it comes to the credit report, we do need to have that from creditchecktotal.com.
There we go.
Only because so many people approach me of, Jose, can I use Credit Karma, or can I use free annual credit report?
That's true. That got me, because there's so many websites out there, and people are like, oh, I'll get my credit from this website or whatnot. Which was the one that you highly recommend for people to go and that it's actually safe?
We recommend Experian. We recommend going through Experian.com or creditchecktotal.com only because
that's creditchecktotal.com.
Absolutely, because the thing with Credit Karma and free annual report, you've heard this saying about you get what you pay for. And if you don't pay for it, then that's what you're getting.
Don't expect much.
Right. So Credit Karma is not a very reliable source. A free annual credit report, even the credit reports that some of the credit cards are giving you nowadays, they're not very reliable. And again, it's free, so you really can't complain about how unreliable they are.
Right.
But creditchecktotal.com, it is only $1. You can cancel it within 7 business days, and then you don't necessarily need it. I just need €3. because my underwriters will look at it just like the lenders would, and it only makes sense. I mean, you don't want us to go ahead and pre-approve you for $100,000 through Credit Karma, and then all of a sudden coming to realize that the lenders are looking at something more complex,
Right.
and you only qualify for $30,000. So we want to be as transparent as possible. In order for do that, we need transparency with the resources that we use as well. So that's the reason. Second program is our lines of credit. So our business credit lines is a program that's a business. It's on the business side. So that what that means is that our business credit lines only report over to your business credit, does not report over to your personal credit. Meaning that if I give you $100,000 in business credit, you can use it all, and it's not going to mess with your personal credit. If you have an 800 credit score, you can literally use all this credit, and you don't have to worry about your debt to credit ratio going up and all things happening with your credit score. That's a good way to protect your scores. And the qualifications for that is I need at least a 700 plus credit score, no open bankruptcies, no tax liens, no open tax liens, should I say. Less than 30% debt to credit ratio, and no more than 4 credit inquiries within the first year. As long as someone meets that criteria, then we can get them funded through the business side. If they don't meet that criteria, then we can take a cosigner that does meet that criteria, and then we can put them under their business through a corporate resolution document. And at that point, we'll raise the money under the corporation. The owner still remains the same. The individual would just be part of the funding process, if that makes sense.
Right.
Again, the only thing I need from that is a credit report from creditchecktotal.com or Experian.com. And that's pretty much it. I mean, it's pretty simple. We'll do all the work. As long as we get those 2 things, credit report and tax returns, we can get someone pre-qualified. Now, the one thing I want to say is that for those of you guys that are interested, I believe we've set up a special website for you guys. So the website is www.efundingexperts.com/getmoney. So I highly recommend going through that website, because anyone that goes through that website will get a special gift as well. Yep. And again, it's www.efundingexperts.com/getmoney. And that's pretty much the qualifications for those 2 programs.
Cool, brother. Man, thanks so much, man. Thanks for sharing the knowledge. You give some awesome resources, websites, great information. Oh, my pleasure, brother. My pleasure, man. All right, so later on, we're posting a link as well on the Facebook chat. So thanks everyone for tuning in. I'm getting a lot of love, a lot of PMs, a lot of messages. So thanks so much for stopping by. And Alex Guillen from funnelignition.com, America's favorite marketer, signing off.
Yep. Thanks,
take care, guys. We'll see you next time.